Hello, everybody. Okay, so I'm gonna hold off. I know it's been a while since I was able to post a video. Hopefully, a new video is coming to you guys sooner than later. But I wanted to come on here and talk to you guys specifically about obstetric violence. And this video will stay on YouTube, so you guys will have access to the video. As I'm speaking, as I'm explaining things, definitely feel free to hit the chat box. Ask any questions you may have, interact with one another. Feel free to give this video a thumbs up while we're here. But I just wanted to talk a little bit about obstetric violence, what the impact is, and where it comes from, right? And the implications it has on Black women as well. And I want to say that first, this is a really, what's the word for it? Very casual conversation. This is not to take the place of a conversation that you may want to have with your OBGYN or your own doula, but to really shed light on obstetric violence and also be able to give you expected moms, people who are thinking about having children, the verbiage as to how to describe what you want in your labor and delivery process and what we have now. And maybe if you've been a victim, unfortunately, of obstetric violence. So, what is obstetric violence? And I also will hopefully be able to include some links as to where I'm getting some of this information. Okay, so obstetric violence is seen as a cross between an intersection between institutional violence and violence against women, right? So this is happening during pregnancy, during childbirth, the postpartum period. I would also venture to say that this happens throughout our reproductive cycle. So when we start puberty and we're having those kinds of conversations with our doctor and our doctor, OB, gynecologist, things like that, when we get pregnant, have our pregnancies, into our birthing experiences, into the postpartum experience, and our postpartum care, as well as after your the phase of having children into menopause as well. So where does this happen? Where is obstetric violence happening? This can happen in your private medical practice, so in your private care PCP office. This can happen in your laboring room. This can happen in the triage room. This can happen in your public health office. It really doesn't matter whether you're a private pay person or a public some sort of public assistance medical healthcare. This can happen anywhere. There's no person, excuse me. There's no person that is that does not have an ability to experience this kind of violence. Okay. Now, how does this look? What does this look like? It can look like a lot of things, right? This can be an un unwarranted or not warned cervical exam. This can be certain decisions as far as medication being made for you. This can be verbal. This can be a demeaning tone. This can be generalizations based on your race, based on your economic status, based on the amount of children you have, based on the amount of abortions you've had, based on the amount of pregnancies you've had, certain things that a provider might say to you. This can be unnecessary intervention. So an unnecessary episiotomy. This can be an unnecessary epidural that you did not want. This could be an unnecessary, like I said, cervical exam. This can be unnecessarily signing or suggesting or prescribing birth control. This can be an unnecessary or unwarranted pap smear. This can look and be so many things. How do you, as a person, reflecting on your experience, say you've had obstetric violence, how do you make that distinguishment? This can happen in a lot of ways. You can realize in the moment that this did not feel right. This doesn't feel right. This is not what I like. This can happen afterwards, like when you're reflecting on your appointment, like this doesn't feel right. This can happen as a result of a maybe a result of something they did, so a lasting effect that happened later on. For example, if you had an unnecessary episiotomy and now you're dealing with pelvic floor issues, you're dealing with incontinence, you're dealing with things like that that stem from an unnecessary situation like an episiotomy. Unfortunately, there is no way to pre-warn someone that obstetric violence is going to happen, right? So we can say maybe street violence happens because there is beef between two people, there's turf wars, there's, you kind of know where your lane is. Not to say that all street violence is warranted. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that if you put yourself in certain situations outside of the healthcare field or anything like that, you can kind of assume like, okay, um, if I'm a police officer, I'm in the line of duty, I'm in the line of fire. If I am a activist, I'm kind of in the line for public scrutiny because not everyone's going to agree with that I have with what the beliefs that I have. But this obsession violence, there's no way to say that there's something that you can do to say like, oh, I'm not gonna put myself in that situation. You know what I mean? Because obstetric violence can happen anywhere with anyone at any point. Okay, so it's so important to reiterate, building a team, finding a care provider who is in line with your vision of your care for yourself. So really finding and building a team that is privy to maybe your certain sensitivities, who for themselves they've decided to practice in a certain way that's in line with your vision and core values. Um, because ultimately, when we're talking about obstetric violence, this is this is coming from preconceived notion. This is coming from preconceived understandings of what you are and what you need and what your needs will be. And so, this can come in the form of disregarding pain and your needs not being met. This can be taking away an infant from a birthing person. This can be dehumanizing treatments, um, dehumanizing, people who come in and are very excuse me, who are very just rude and standoffish and just interrupting the flow of your space. That can come from that as well. This can be also an inability to connect to the patient. It can stem from that as well, because we have providers that are practicing who unfortunately are not able to connect and see their patients as human beings and therefore treat them as objects, treat them as situations, treat them as cases, when these cases have people with unique histories, unique backgrounds, um, unique understandings of the world at play. So what may be considered violent to one person may not be considered violent to another person, because in their understanding of healthcare and what they want their healthcare to be, this isn't violent. Okay. So another point I wanted to make is that it is not up to an individual, it's not up to me or to you to tell another person that what they experienced was not violence. If they feel like they were violated, if they feel like they were in some way manipulated or had severe trauma, PTSD, and anxiety. Maybe they suffered a loss as a result of this, a loss of self, a loss of a child, a loss of a partner, something in that nature. Where it is not up to an individual to tell another person that what they did or did not experience was violent, because your unique understanding of what your healthcare experience is and will be is completely different to the next person. And so as human beings, we are charged with the responsibility of being sensitive to that, and therefore, using our words very wisely, and just making sure that we are allies to the best of our ability. And if someone comes to you or comes to someone you love, or if it's you yourself who feels like you've been violated in an experience, the people around you also need to be able to rally around you and really support you in that way. And if there are people who aren't very supportive in that way, maybe you kind of know, like, okay, these people can't support me in this because their understanding is different. And that's what I'll say about that. I was recently watching a video of an unnecessary episiotomy. This is just me in the wormhole of YouTube, and it was so jarring. It was a woman, and maybe I can link the video. It was a woman who was vaginally delivering her baby, and the provider was just very brute, and he was just so violent. He was kept saying, "You need to be cut. You need to be cut. I need to do this. Do you want to have this baby? Yeah, you need to do this." And I believe it was her mother or an aunt or someone in the room with her who was saying, "You know what? Let the doctor do what he needs to do. Like this needs to happen. It's just a little cut. Like just be okay with it. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. You'll be fine." And he cut her, and he cut her so violently, even though with the method in which he held the scissors and the way that he was so aggressive in cutting her. Not to, and I don't know the specifics of the situation, but from my understanding, there wasn't any medical issues at the time. Like they didn't, from my understanding of it was like a 10-minute video. They didn't talk about baby's heart rate or anything like that. It was just something that he felt he needed to do, maybe to make the process quicker. And I believe I followed up, I read some of the comments, and the woman that was actually a victim of this, she commented and said that she did bring it to court, and he actually did end up losing his medical license as a result of this. So I want to encourage people who feel like they've been violated to hold your healthcare institutions, to hold your providers accountable, because there can and will be justice. And to videotape everything. There's no problem with that. If you're in your birthing space, you should not be allowed to videotape. You can videotape. There are certain states that have limitations as far as how low you can go, like maybe not um, filming the vaginal area. And in that case, that's a conversation you can have with a provider, that this is how you feel more comfortable and you want things on videotape, and for them to know as well, like you're being videotaped so they can act accordingly, and be held accountable to the words that they say. Um, so I just wanted to really quickly come on here and talk to you guys about obstetric violence, and I don't see any questions, so I'm just gonna head off really soon. But hopefully, I can come back and do this more often. Just come in and talk to you guys for 10 minutes about a certain topic. And if you guys like it, we'll continue doing it. And I really hope to hear from you guys soon. Okay, so definitely leave comments in the comment area. You can find me on Instagram at Adriana the Doula. Always send me an email at doulaphilosophy@gmail.com. You can also find me on other social media platforms, Twitter, I said Instagram, Facebook at Adriana the Doula, Instagram, Snapchat, anything like that. You can always send me an email. I'm always open and willing to listen to certain situations. And thank you, thank you, thank you to the people who have reached out and have had such kind things to say. I so appreciate it. And who've emailed me and talked to me about certain things that they're going through. I'm so appreciative of your time, and that you feel like this is a safe space. And I encourage you to reach out to people in your community who are also safe spaces for you to talk about these hard things, because you cannot have too many people on your side. There's no such thing as too many people who are working towards your vision. And so thank you again so much. You guys have a great day, and I will talk to you soon. Hopefully we'll have a video out soon, but that's my hope. All right, bye bye everybody.